And the U.S. naval blockade now in full effect is squeezing Iran's economy and ramping up pressure on Tehran to set aside nuclear ambitions. We're going to see how this goes. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Morning to you. That was a rockin' hour. Got another one right now. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning. Gunboat diplomacy enforcing the blockade on ships in and out of Iranian ports. Several oil tankers crossing the strait today. And now we're hearing high-level talks could resume within days amid signs of possible progress. However, we do not know that just yet. That has not been confirmed. Now, after the first round of talks ended without a deal, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, leading those negotiations, had this update with Brett last night in a special report.
We need to see the Straits of Hormuz fully open. And this is frankly one of the things where the Iranians tried to move the goalposts during the negotiation. We made very clear that that's unacceptable. We came to the negotiations saying the United States, what we've given here is a ceasefire. We've stopped bombing the country. What we expect the Iranians to give up is a full reopening of the Straits of Hormuz.
All right, Matt Finn now brings us up today, starting a new hour. He's live from Dubai, Persian Gulf. And Matt, hello again to you.
Good morning, Bill. Day 2 of the American blockade. And so far, no reports of any major incidents or confrontations out on the Persian Gulf behind me. Fox's Lauren Simonetti reports that a Chinese-owned ship carrying oil and chemicals passed much earlier today after first trying yesterday. And Kepler reports 3 other oil tankers reportedly crossed today. One had a Panama flag, one had a Guyana flag, and one had a Cook's Island flag. Now, this tracks with what the president and CENTCOM have been saying, that the entire Persian Gulf is not blocked. Rather, the U.S. is preventing ships from entering or exiting Iranian ports. Now, an Iranian military spokesperson has been warning of retaliation, writing, if the security of Iranian ports is threatened, no port in the Gulf or the Sea of Oman will be safe. Now, the latest report from the International Energy Agency says continued attacks on the energy infrastructure here in the Middle East and ongoing restrictions to tanker movements throughout the Strait of Hormuz has led to the largest fuel disruption in history. Now, initially, the deepest cuts in oil came from the Middle East, heavily impacting jet fuel. But if things remain as is here in the Middle East, scarcity and higher prices in places like the United States are expected to persist. Dana, Bill.
Got it, Matt. Thanks. Matt Finn, live in Dubai. Thank you, Dana.
We have more on this with Brent Sadler. He's a retired Navy captain and senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Take us there in your mind. As I just give you this a little bit from Mark Thiessen in his Washington Post column today, says Trump flips the script in the Strait of Hormuz. The ceasefire gave the president an opening. He's used it to turn Iran's strategy back on itself. So if you were to place yourself there in your imagination, what do you think that those captains are waiting for? I mean, it's possible, as we showed, there could be ships that are stopped and boarded, and then what happens?
Yeah, great to be back on your show. It's a great question. I think it's safe to assume that several steps in this chess game has been thought out, and the pieces have already been put in place. I mean, the ceasefire, as tenuous as it is, has allowed for a rearming, a rest, and a recoup, and also a refocus of those naval and air operations to basically enforce this new blockade. And most importantly, you saw literally as the negotiations were breaking down over the weekend, naval vessels opening up a mine-clear route, a so-called Q route, so that shipping can transit with confidence. And that's the confidence that's important to drive down the insurance rates. Again, the 8 underwriters or so that own that business in London, hopefully they'll start to drop the rates, and what is now turning into a stream of ships can turn back into a flood and revive the global energy market. But in the meantime, 10 to 17% increase in business in the Gulf of America.
We've talked about this strait being only 20 miles across, but if you stood on the beach and looked at the horizon, you can probably see 3 or 5 miles, right, before it ends. We're talking 20 miles at a minimum. That's a big body of water. And the Iranians are claiming that they've mined it. There's no evidence that proves that, sir. What do you think of that? My point is, if you prove it's not mined, you have the ability to transit that route.
Again, it comes back to confidence, and just more ships pass through there, then basically the truth will be told to the lie that there's so many mines and so much military threat from the Iranians that it's not worth going through. And you're starting to see that confidence come up. As far as the Iranians mining the Straits of Hormuz, They, on their own admission, said that they did about a dozen or so mines in international waters. Again, this is against international law, violates the Geneva and Hague Conventions, so war crime that they just admitted to. But again, sending the mine clearance and clearing out a route is what has apparently been done, not the entirety of the Strait of Hormuz, but at least that route. And that's at a minimum all that's needed to get the ships through.
Okay, let's talk to you a little bit more about going forward. I guess there could be possible talks, but in the meantime, Vice President Vance spoke about what they learned from the Iranians over the weekend.
I do think that we acquired some knowledge about how the Iranians are negotiating, and this is ultimately why we left Pakistan, because what we figured out is that they were unable, I think the team that was there was unable to cut a deal, and they had to go back to Tehran. I really think the ball is in the Iranian court because we put a lot on the table.
And so now, is it return serve?
No, I think the Iranians were trying to do a repeat of like 2015 and previous negotiations, thinking that for domestic political reasons, the United States needed this deal more than they did. And I think, again, this regime in Tehran has very sorely misjudged the Trump administration. If it's any party that needs this deal, it's the Iranians, and they are in an extremely weak position on the negotiations. So it's not as surprising that they would do this or attempt it. And again, now trying to quickly come back to the negotiation, perhaps in Pakistan, and we'll see. But the clear thing is the pressure needs to be sustained. At the same time, the U.S. is not the side that has to acquiesce or make any concessions. It is the Iranians that, quite frankly, have to do that.
Brent Sadler, thanks for coming on. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Another day, as we say. Thanks. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.